Something beautiful came to me. Something beautiful came to me. Something beautiful came to me, and I hope it comes to you. Something beautiful came to me. Something beautiful came to me. Something beautiful came to me, and I hope it comes to you. Something beautiful came to me.
Seal connection to place centers human existence within the environment as means of self-preservation. We have a responsibility as Syilx people to the land that is articulated through family and land-based storied history. Jeanette Armstrong explains that as people, we interacted with this place through language, and every word we have is about being out there on the land with physical gestures. tkłmílxৱ and ʔsqáx, personal storied history. It is through these stories we learn the history of our ways, the natural laws we must maintain as self-governance that introduce us through cultural scripts, relationality, and visitor protocols to establish a personal kłca, a way of living in consensus with the natural world around us. So where we are is at the head of Okanagan Lake, and we're on the northern arm, which is the longer part of the lake, and it's been designated reserve for the Okanagan Indian Band. And my family has lived specifically at this place for about 150 years. So this particular place has been where I was raised, my mother was raised, my grandmother was raised, and her father was raised. So we have a real strong connection to here. My name is Muriel Belanger, and I'm from the Okanagan Indian Band. I am a mother of 3 and a PhD student at Queen's University. Sienna is my youngest child. She's a miracle child for a number of reasons, with early connections to her Ojibwe side and then being raised here in the Okanagan on the land.
ʔsqáx kłmílxৱ. In tu Muriel Belanger, mistam Jeffrey Lee, kłca, Hilda Belanger, Marcel Belanger. I'm Sienna Belanger Lee. I'm Syilx and Ojibwe. I am currently studying to get my bachelor's right now in the Syilxian language fluency program. Sienna is a quiet, behind-the-scenes person most of the time, who's usually not talking and just observing. I'm more of the absent friend who will support you and love you from afar because I have a hard time with people, and I really have more of a connection to the tkłmílxৱ and to the land and the animals. And so I would say Sienna is not just a horsewoman, but on the land woman. Well, with my dad, like my mom, he would go and take me out onto the land or up even into the mountains, and he grew up disconnected from his culture and his community.
Well, the Seal people have been here in the southern part of British Columbia and Washington and little bits into Idaho since time immemorial. And we're ʔsqáx speaking people, which is interior Salishan dialect. We are very active when it comes to being on the land with hunting and gathering, but also specifically here, we have been ranchers and cattle folk and horse folk in particular. And it's the horses that have really been a source of just health and knowledge and association to place. When the settlers first came and they kind of moved through and didn't really stay, they left their horses. So there are some really expensive breeds mixed in with these ferals, these wild horses that have made themselves known to the people by being on the road, unfortunately. And it got a little bit, well, it gets dangerous. So it's kind of a precarious situation to live amongst the animals that are feral and wild in general.
I grew up with the language and the culture, so I was traveling with my grandma to different places throughout the land and even across country, learning traveling protocols, place protocols, and how to be in community. And I grew up really immersed in embodying our culture as a Seal person. And it really gave me a sense of grounding and healing. Crimson was my first horse. She was rescued by my grandfather.
My dad rescued her from a slaughter, from the auction, and she was just the most gentlest soul. And it was when we came home that Sienna was introduced to the love of her life, and that was Crimson, our very first red horse. And she was so connected to that horse that from then on after, she was at the corral and she was always feeding them and talking to them, and you know, it was a natural thing for her. I was preparing to go east to start my PhD, and my dad was really sick. We had just finished a first round of chemo with him, and but I had to go to school, and so I asked Sienna to come home because I needed help with caring for my parents.
Back in that time, I was really anorexic, and I was like 90 pounds, super underweight, unhealthy, drinking habit, and I was not a traditional person in any sense. I was a city girl, going to parties and living my life like that, and it was killing me. And so moving back home and having the horses help me stabilize my life. The horses really allowed me to ground myself and have someone, and not someone, but more like something to do other than just take care of my grandparents. Lily came into my life with her colt crow, and it was during the decline of my grandfather's health, and emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of it. I was just floating and making by with what I could, and she was just alone by herself walking on the highway, and I seen her from my bedroom window, and I called out to her mentally, and I was like, please come down. If you come down, you'll be safe, and I'll take care of you. And she came down, And she had Crow with her, her little yearling at the time, and she was walking down the road, and I ran to the corner of the gate and I opened it, and she just walked in. She reminded me of Crimson so much. Like when I first seen her on the highway, I was like, oh my God, that looks like Crimson. And so it was really cool to actually have her listen to me and come down and figure out who she is as a horse and learn her identity and her personality. And she is not like Crimson at all. She's spooky, doesn't trust, but she also wants to trust you and she wants to be with you. She's just scared because she's been wild her whole life. I didn't even know Lily was pregnant until around February, around my birthday, that I noticed that her belly was getting bigger, and that in April when he was born, he was this beautiful horse. And he was so friendly and he just came up to you. And it was really surprising that Lily allowed me, especially the day he was born, to come into their space and just be with them. With Crow, I've had this super profound relationship with him. Lily would just stay away from me as much as she could, and he would be curious. He would come and he'd check me out, and then he'd go away because I'd move and I'd scare him. Through the winter until February, I think, is when I got them into the pasture. I really focused my attention on him and training him. And so from February 2020, I started his training, and everything just came easy for us. It only took 5 minutes or 10 minutes for him to understand what I was asking him to do. He really helped me understand horses better and their body language, and as we've grown together, he's become my heart horse, and without him, I don't think I would be doing this. When I mean heart horse, I mean like, he's the reason why I'm alive. He's my purpose. I had a really deep, profound connection with these horses.
In 2021, there was the White Rock Lake fire. Destroyed houses, like complete neighborhoods were like wiped out from Westwool all the way east to here, Okanagan Indian Band. When Sienna decided to leave, to be honest, I doubted her.
My mom didn't believe that we needed to leave. She felt safe enough that we as a family could stay here, and I did not. We didn't have a relationship for a long time until recently, and especially during my teenage years, it was very negative.
And I was like kind of poo-pooing that she was overreacting.
And Crow coughing is what really made me want to leave so that I could protect him. Like a few weeks ago, Crow was coughing for no reason. It's probably because of the ash. And then last night, before I went to bed, I went to go check on the horses, and Gunner was like wheezing. And I just don't like being, even though it's, I'll be back. Even though the fire's pretty far. Ew, my nails. It's too close to comfort. Just because I also don't like the air quality. Like there's literal ash falling from the sky. And nobody needs that right now.
So I didn't know exactly what she was going to do. I was kind of busy with my mom. We were also being evacuated at the same time.
So like I was watching everything, and behind the range you could see this pillar of smoke, and it was really ominous. And I was talking to my mom and my grandma, and I was like, well, what are we gonna do? Well, what am I gonna do? Because I have these horses who are untouched, who've never seen a trailer, have never been handled, and they have very little trust with humans. Oh, I love my little community. I had to send them like an email, like, be prepared, pack up just in case. Like, the fire, like I said, the fire is only like 27 kilometers away, but I'd rather be safe than sorry.
We were trying to think about what we were going to do with the RV, the truck, the other things, and then Sienna was like, no, well, I'm leaving. Somebody's coming, and I'm going today. And we're like, today? Like, the fire's not even here, you know? But she was not having any of it.
So I'm taking all the steps that I think are necessary for my animals and to keep them safe, and you know, just for me to feel more relaxed, because I had such a huge panic attack earlier, and I was crying, I was bawling, and so I went around on social media and contacting certain people. And so we exchanged a few calls, and not even like an hour later, Canby calls me and she's like, I can come get you right now. I don't know you, you don't know me, but I'm here for you. And I was like, thank you so much. Because these animals are my life. Like, I got a job from them. They are my therapy. They saved me as much as I saved them. Like, they're rescues, and yeah, it's just been a wild ride.
But it only took her to get mad at me once, really.
I don't know, everyone's like, oh, the fire's not gonna come, but this fire is over 90,000 hectares. So, I mean, play at your own risk, right? So, and I don't want to play no risk. I just want to play life. And I was really scared for him because he is the love of my life. And I wanted to make sure that he would be healthy and that he wouldn't develop asthma, because we have lost a horse due to asthma a long time ago during another year of fires, so I didn't want that for him.
And then I was like, okay, this is her choice. This is her decision. She's taking control and being responsible for the animals, which is what she was supposed to be doing.
It was really frustrating that my family wasn't believing in me and supporting me in that way. And so I supported myself and helped myself and made these connections with all these other women, and we all helped each other work to get these wild horses out so that we wouldn't be waiting during evacuation with lineups of cars, and it would take longer and it would be a more stressful process for the horses, and we didn't want to do that.
And while it was about, I guess, just about 30 kilometers from here, Sienna had decided, that's it, I'm out of here. And I'm like, why? It's fine. Everything's fine. You don't have to worry about it. Fire won't get here.
The fire came.
Fire started on July 13th and grew across a massive area, from Douglas Lake Ranch in the west to the shores of Okanagan Lake in the east, south almost to Fintry, and north beyond Monty Lake.
And then this lady came. She had a huge trailer and a huge truck, and she was a tiny, tiny woman. So it was very shocking and surprising and awe-inspiring to watch them together.
She's a horse trainer where she works with managing the younger horses, like the babies, to get them handled and then hopefully find them homes. And so she has a lot of deep understanding with wild horses. It was really cool because Canby is this tiny woman who drives these big rigs and handles these wild horses like it's nothing, and it was really inspiring for me to have a woman in my life living that and doing that.
To watch them together lead these horses who had never even encountered people before, let alone a trailer with, a loud engine and confined space. So it took them a little while, but they were able to get the horses inside the trailer, and then she left.
Okay, so we made it to Midway.
She was staying at Camby's house, which was very kind of Camby to open up her house to a complete stranger and just welcome them and these horses in. Because at the time, like, the horses were just babies. They were both very little. And to think of the stress, you know, and the amount of ash that they were inhaling themselves, it would have been really bad if they stayed.
So I think I was down there for like 2 months, and while I was down there, it wasn't just running away from the White Rock Lake fire, but also the Mount Baldy fire down in ʔsqáx. So it wasn't just one wildfire that was affecting me, but 2. We got to ride through the burn area there, and it was really alien. The landscape was gone. Because up here it's more forest type environments with a lot of trees, and down there it's more desert. And so a lot of their habitat is sagebrush, and all the sagebrush was gone. It was just sand. And because of how hot it was down there, some of the sand turned into glass. And it was really interesting to see that as we rode through with horses that used to be wild, and then also seeing the wildies who survived the fire there.
And at one point, daytime turned to night as the smoke was so thick that it appeared to be midnight at 4 in the afternoon.
While the fire was still coming here, it turned the sky black and then red in the middle of the day. It was the most scariest event, you know, to witness. Just the apocalyptic atmosphere. It was, yeah. And to think that my daughter was far away from me and I couldn't do anything about that. It was hard. There was ash falling, and you know, when you stay inside you don't really notice it as much, but Sienna was outside a lot, and so she was a lot more concerned about what the horses were having to suffer through. That's when the fire came, and almost like it was to the road down here. So she was right to leave. It was very dangerous. We were very fortunate that it didn't cross the road here.
It was really sad coming home and seeing all of the burn, because there was nothing. There's no new growth. There was just ash and trees. And I cried when I came home, and especially down in Midway with Camby, seeing all the videos and the whole range just burning. It really broke my heart. Coming home, it broke it even more, because there is nothing. And there's no horses, there's no wildlife, and it's really silent and eerie. And so seeing all of that helped me find another sense of purpose. Well, what the horses have taught me is to be very observant and to read people's body and their energy before they even speak their words. And so it was really interesting to have a sort of animal perspective compared to a human one, where humans are always confrontational, where animals will take the time to study you first before they approach you. Understand that you can find your own healing through grounding practices, and that doesn't have to be through a human practice. It can be through a land practice or an animal practice. They really helped me come into myself as a healthy Indigenous person. I've continued my work on my own now as a passion project, and to hopefully create it to be a sustainable practice and job so that we can create our food forest, planting indigenous foods, indigenous plants, and working with the wildlife, with the bears. We created this really unique relationship with the bears where we would go collect their scat and we'd be with them and like around them, and you just need to talk to them and respect their space and acknowledge that they've been here forever. I'm working towards providing my horses with the best future and health that they can have.
She is starting to develop different exercises in the language with them and learning the different words for things that she's doing with the horses in the ʔsqáx language, and I want to help foster that. So eventually we'll have site visits, and we'll include some workshops with what we do here at the gallery at Studio ʔsqáx, which has come as a result of the work that we do on the land with our plantings and you know, getting back in touch with that kł'sqáx, just really understanding our place with and amongst the animals and how we react and interact with them is going to either grow our relationship or, you know, make it bad. And we don't want to be bad, you know. We want to have good relations with those animals and with the people and continue to keep them safe.
My mom's process and my process of healing with the land is very different. She likes to work with the tule reeds and the cattails and the more wetland tkłmílxৱ, where I like to focus my healing on the mountain tkłmílxৱ, like the nettle, the mariposa, and all these different medicines up there. And so it's really nice to have two separate practices come together and teach each other, where now we actually have a friendship and companionship, and it's really nice. Through all the losses that she's had, she really keeps going, and I don't think without that I would be here still going, so I'm really proud of my mom.
Since then, since the horses have been here and Sienna has bonded with them, and I've accepted that they're a part of our life, that we are looking to build a homestead on the top field where we will be able to have our hay shed, and Sienna can continue with her horse practice. She is responsible and she's coming into her own, and it's through these horses that she's been able to do that. Wow. When I look at my daughter, and I didn't think that I would get emotional just thinking about it. But when I look at my daughter in the field and in the corral, I see my grandmother, and I think like a child in that moment, because everything that we have is because of my grandmother. She's the reason why we have the land. She's the reason why we need to continue to care for the land, because she was a rancher. She used to have 200 head of cattle that she would run with my dad and, you know, the family. And I'd have to be out there hauling hay, you know, like this is our inheritance. And to see her take that on her own and make it her own without any influence from me, that makes me very proud to be her mother. So the seal connection to place, that's like our kł'sqáx. That's how we center ourselves as ʔsqáx. We are of the land, and how the land feels and how the land is treated is reflected in the people. And so when we are healthy and we're living on the land and we're doing well, we're living in good connection to place.
As a student, sometimes all I can afford is the free stuff. And so it would be really nice to have sort of like a call out for community, I guess, to come and support us, support me and the horses. Sometimes our people don't have that chance to find peace. So it's really great to have a piece from the horses and try and share it with other people.
Something beautiful came to me. Something beautiful came to me. Something beautiful came to me, and I hope it comes to you. Something beautiful came to me. Something beautiful came to me. Something beautiful came to me, and I hope it comes to you. Something beautiful came to me. Something beautiful came to me. Something beautiful came to me, and I hope it comes to you. Let your soul dance for a while. Let your soul dance for a while. Let your soul dance for a while, dancing free like the birds. Let your soul